Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about the 7 most important life events that can come up along the road. So let's see what we've got. So first, what we're all going through now is going to college. So heading off to college means a lot of new experiences, from taking classes to living independently for the first time, for managing your expenses for tuition, housing, food, books, everything that comes along. And budgeting for this new stage is really challenging. And no matter how long you plan for it, there are things that pop up that you don't expect. So let's just take a look at the going to college here. So deciding to pursue higher education and the path to successful career varies from person to person. So there are 3 general types of post-secondary educational institutions to consider. So there's a trade school, which means you're only going to that school for a specific type of job training. If you want to be a mechanic or something like that, then you would go to a trade school that only taught that topic. And then the 2-year college, also known as community college, where we all are now, are technical colleges and junior colleges. Also, a 2-year college is a way to complete 2 years of college level coursework at a lower cost than a 4-year college or university. Graduates use their 2-year education credits to transfer to a 4-year college or university and can complete a bachelor's degree in an additional 2 years. So a 4-year college is the big universities or colleges that require students to take a broad range of classes and awards degrees that can be used for a wide spectrum of jobs. 4-year institutions are significantly more expensive than 2-year colleges and offer housing. Hi, Benito, thanks for joining. Costs can vary depending on whether it's a public or a private college, and if you're attending in-state or out of state. Everybody can see the screen okay? All good? Okay. So as you prepare financially for college, tuition prices escalate almost every year. It can seem like education could be out of reach for some students, but planning ahead and having a little boost from financial aid can ease the stress. So of course, in order to receive financial aid, you'll have to apply at studentaid.gov to see what you qualify for. So it's not only a Pell Grant, but it's also student loans for almost all 2- and 4-year colleges, universities, and career schools in the country. So remember that not everyone who applies receives aid. Grants and loan packages are awarded according to your income and the tuition of the school you're applying to. So if you want to use the calculator to see what you're eligible for, you could also go to studentaid.gov and use the student aid eligibility calculator. Or just come in and talk to financial aid. So as you prepare for college, managing your money may be the last thing on your mind, but you're going to have to think of all the things that are going to come up while going to college. So housing is one of them. Off-campus housing is what we have here at CCA. So if you're going to live in your own apartment, or if you're going to be still at home with your parents, you're going to have to look at the cost of how much it's going to be to pay your rent on either an apartment or if you pay rent to your parents. So you could share a room with a friend to help, defer the costs. But there's other things that you're gonna have to look at too if you have your own place, like utilities and cable and internet access, everything. So try to budget in those costs. So on-campus housing is what four-year colleges would have. And you're closer to campus, so you don't have to worry about commuting. And it's more convenient overall because everything is there. Like I said, you're not going to have to worry about a car or extra housing costs. So, but other money needs are, of course, books. And we all know how expensive those are. So, you could use, if you have enough financial aid to cover your tuition plus buying textbooks, then that's a great help. If you get a refund from your financial aid, then you can go back and buy your textbooks using that money. And then there's a lot of retailers online or on campus that offer to rent books for a reduced price. So then you also want to look at food. So if you're living on campus, then they're probably going to offer you a meal plan. So that's going to save a lot of money, so you're not going out and grocery shopping or getting carry out and things like that, which can get pretty expensive if you're doing it all the time. But if you're living on your own in an apartment or at home with family, you're going to have to buy groceries. So that's another thing that you're going to have to budget in with all the other costs for going to college. And additional money needs is entertainment. Of course, nobody expects anybody just to stay home and study all the time. But think of inexpensive ways of doing things so you're not going out, all the time and getting meals or going to see a movie or something. So be creative about ways to do your entertainment. Look for free things on campus to see if there's, a theater play or something that you can go to. And then, share meals with friends. Lots of different ways that you could, provide entertainment that's going to be a little bit cheaper. And of course, transportation. So if you're living off campus, you're going to have to think how you're going to get there. So that means either using a car or the public transportation. Now, either way, you're going to have to buy bus passes and then gas for the car. And with today's high cost of gas, you might consider seeing if you could commute with someone to share the gas prices, or ride a bike to school. If you're living close, maybe you can walk. So think about what kind of transportation you're going to use. And then, of course, you might be working as well. So think about if you're going to be working part-time or full-time. Track the money that you receive and then what you're spending on transportation and entertainment and everything that we've just been talking about, to see if you're spending more than you're taking in from your work paycheck. And if you're eligible, you could see if you could do a federal work study on campus, which means there are jobs that different departments around campus provide students. So you're getting paid to work here. So that's a big help too. That's also going to save time and money, because you're not driving to work to a place, away from campus. So everything is neatly here at school. So after graduation, you're going to start repaying your loans. So once you graduate, you're going to be on the 6 months grace period. So you don't have to make a payment for 6 months. That'll allow you time to get your repayment plan set up, and then you'll be ready to go. So, but you're also going to have to factor in that monthly payment for your loan and all of the other expenses that you're going to have. Now, if your parents took out a PLUS loan, once the loan is fully paid out, they're going to have to start making payments immediately. So they don't get that 6 months grace period break like you do for taking out the subsidized or unsubsidized loan. So and then repayment plans, there's many options that you can do. They're income-based. There's like graduated payment plans. So you start out at $1 amount, and then as maybe you get a better job, and over time it can increase so that you're paying maybe a little bit more monthly payment, but it's graduated over time and it gives you a little bit longer to pay off the loan. Normally it takes like 10 to 20 years to pay off your student loan, depending on the amount that you borrowed. So you can go to Federal Student Aid, also known as studentaid.gov, and choose your repayment plan. And if you need assistance, you can contact your lender servicer and they'll help you decide on the best plan for you. Also, you can consolidate your loans. So if over time, maybe you have more than a couple loans and you don't want to make 5 different payments for the 5 loans that you have, you can consolidate them all into one. So that could give you a break. You're only making 1 payment per month. It's easy to remember that you only have 1 payment rather than 5. And also you could get a better deal in your interest rate. If something happens along the way and maybe your payment amount is too much, or you temporarily aren't working, then you could call your lender servicer and ask for a deferment or a forbearance, which will postpone your payments. So you could get yourself back on track and then start making your payments again. Okay, so now we're going to go into life event number 2, buying a car. So there are lots of things to consider when you want to buy a car. You have to make sure that it's within your budget, because here again, this is another added expense. So you want to make sure you're not going out and buying a brand new $30,000 car when something that's more affordable and used could, be good for what your transportation purposes will be. So when you're buying a car, you want to remember, again, you're going to have all these added expenses. So now you're going to have auto insurance to consider. So if you have like renter's insurance or house insurance, you might want to see if you can bundle and add on your car insurance to your plan. That way it might be a little bit more affordable. And then also look at what the price differences are for like a higher or a lower deductible. So instead of having the $250 deductible, you might want to look at if the $500 deductible is going to be cheaper for you. And then you're also going to have to do vehicle registration on your car. So once you buy it, you have like 45 days to get your plates and tags. So that initial cost is, depending on what car you bought or what type of car, your initial vehicle registration amount could be kind of high. You could expect maybe $500 to pay to get your plates and tags. So you have to remember that's a yearly thing that's going to come up, and every year that you have the car, it's going to go down, but not much. So you want to make sure you're budgeting for that yearly registration amount. And then of course, there's always maintenance. So if you have a newer car, then hopefully you still have warranties that will get covered if something major happens. But, you know, a lot of times there's things that come up that we're not prepared for. And so that could get pretty expensive because, you know, the cost of the maintenance plus the labor that they charge, you could be looking at, you know, $1,000 or more on repairs. So that's something that you have to save for in case those things turn up. And then, of course, there's emission fees. So if you have an older car, yearly, you're probably going to have, or I think it's every other year, they'll have to go and have your emissions checked. So that's about another $25 to $50 that you'll have to do. So then also purchasing gas. Right now, gas prices are almost $4. So you have to consider that. And where's it going to come from? Do you have a gas company card that you could pay for your gas, or are you paying out of pocket? Either way, you're going to have to pay for it in the long run. So just plan ahead to see, you know, which is better for you, and make sure that your car is not a gas guzzler, you know, a big like SUV or something like that that's going to eat up your gas. Make sure that you get good fuel economy. So that's also one thing to remember when you're buying a car. So now we're going to move into life event number 3. And before I go on, does anybody have any questions? Nope. Okay. So buying a home, this is a big major step. So you have to decide if it's the right time to buy a home. And a lot of times it's never a good time, you know, you just have to do it if that's something that you really want. But it's going to be a big additional cost for your budget. So you have to make sure that you're in a better paying job and that you are going to be able to cover the monthly mortgage payments. So you have to consider what the down payment is. That's why it might be good to save up for several years. That could be like a long-term goal that you have. And maybe in 5 years you want to save so you have enough for a down payment on the house. So most down payments could be at least 3%. Majority would be 10%. Yeah, or higher, it could be 20%, but mortgage payments are comparable to your monthly rent payments. With the rent payment, it's just for, you know, renting the place, but the mortgage payment is going to include much more than just buying a place to live. So even if the monthly payment amounts are similar, owning a home means that you'll be responsible for paying the taxes, homeowners insurance, renovation, repairs, utilities, and other types of fees to be covered by the landlord. So that's one benefit of renting. If there's a problem, if your plumbing goes out or something, you call the landlord and they come and repair it and you don't have that cost. But now that you're a homeowner, you have to pay for all these things, including like yard work and things like that. All that will be done by yourself. So there's other home options like leasing a home. If you're only looking to stay for a specific time, maybe you're thinking about moving out of the city or state, and you're only going to be there for a limited time, you could lease a place to live for 6 to 12 months. Leases are longer term and more strictly defined than rental agreements. While rental agreement terms can change monthly, lease contracts can only be changed once the term of the lease is up. Now, renting versus buying. So you want to determine whether renting is better for your needs, and then consider how much you're willing to invest in a property. So renting a house involves a lease where the tenant pays rent to occupy the property, and it typically involves periodic payments. If tenants have a contractual agreement to rent over a period of time, they sign a lease. Renters are not always responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of a home, while homeowners are responsible for appliances, repairs, and other utilities. So if you decide that you do want to buy a home, you could check with different loan companies and see if you're pre-approved for a loan. That way you could tell how much they'll have to buy for a house. Say you're approved for $250,000, you know what type of house that you could start looking for. You know, there might be that could be a condo or a small house. I know here in Colorado, 250,000 is not going to go very far. So you're going to have to figure out how much you're pre-qualified for. So there's lots of financial institutions that could pre-qualify you, but make sure that you do your homework and you're choosing a good company to work with. So it also involves more than verification of your finances to make sure you could afford to make the mortgage payments. So here are some documents they'll be asked to provide. So they're going to need personal information like your driver's license, social security number, marital certificate, contact information and address, as well as your employment information, including where you have worked and for how long, as well as recent paycheck stubs and a W-2 income tax form for the last 2 years. And then your total monthly expenses, which includes bills you pay regularly. That's why it's important to work on a budget all the time. And then your overall financial condition, which includes all of your bank accounts, investment accounts, assets, which are like stocks and 401ks, IRAs, bonds, cash, all of your liabilities, which are debts such as credit card balances, student loans, or car loans. Everything is going to be looked at before you qualify to buy a home. Okay, so if you get close to buying a house, then you're going to look at a mortgage. So if you're going to be responsible for paying a mortgage over the next 30 years, you need to know exactly what a mortgage is. So it basically has 3 different parts. So there's the down payment, the monthly payment and fees. And since mortgages usually involve a long-term repayment plan, it's important to understand how they work. So the monthly payment or your mortgage payment is the amount needed to pay off the mortgage over the length of a loan and includes a payment on the principal of the loan as well as interest. There are often property taxes and other fees included in the monthly bill. The fees are various costs you have to pay up front to get the loan. The down payment is the upfront amount you pay to secure a mortgage. So the larger your down payment, the better your financing deal will be. You'll get a lower mortgage interest rate, pay fewer fees, and gain equity in your home more rapidly. Everybody good? Any questions? Okay. So there are different types of mortgages. If you've been a veteran, there are Veterans Administration loans. If you go to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, you can see if you qualify for a veteran loan. Or Federal Housing Administration has loans as well. And these could be for like first-time home buys. And you can see if you qualify because let's see, sorry, I lost my place. So there are lending institutions such as a bank, federal government insures the loan. It's often the least costly loan that non-veterans can get. And then there's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which are USDA loans. And you could see if you would qualify for those. So it's normally for like rural property buyers who are without decent, safe, and sanitary housing and are unable to secure a home loan for traditional sources and have an adjusted income at a below the low income threshold for the area where they live. And then also you could go to your regular bank and see what type of home loans they offer. So once you've decided on your mortgage company and everything, then you're going to look at the type of interest rate that you're going to pay. So there's either the fixed rate or adjustable rates. So a fixed rate mortgage requires a monthly payment that's the same amount throughout the term of the loan. So when you sign the loan papers, you agree on an interest rate and that rate never changes. So for 30 years, you're going to be paying the same amount every single month. This is the best type of loan if interest rates are low when you get a mortgage. So the difference with the adjustable rate is that it allows the interest rate on your loan to vary with prevailing interest rates. If rates go up, so will your mortgage rate and monthly payment. But if the rates increase a lot, you could be in big trouble. If rates go down, your mortgage rate will drop and so will your monthly payment. It's generally safest to stick with a fixed rate loan to safeguard against rising interest rates. If the rates drop, refinance your mortgage to take advantage of the lower rates. So you got everything set up and you're getting ready to close on your home. So the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to sign the contract. So this usually means that you have officially agreed to purchase the home. There are small details that could make the difference between a good deal and a bad deal. An experienced professional can help ensure you're getting a good deal. So if you can, you could do what's called a good faith deposit. So when you make an offer on a house, you have to put down a good faith deposit. So this deposit usually is several $1,000s. And if the deal falls through, you will get the money back unless somehow you violated your contract. If the deal goes through, the deposit goes towards your down payment and share of your closing costs. So there's also what's called a contingency. So the contract specifies these contingencies, and that means that the contract is valid only if certain requirements are met. So for example, if you're financing, sorry, catch up there. So if your financing doesn't go through, you aren't required to purchase the home. You're not locked in. So that's one good thing. But the contingencies also cover home inspection, termite inspection, title search, and several other processes. So the inspection, you have to have a lot of home inspections, which could include having a contractor come out and just overall check the home condition. If you want to do a pest inspection, have somebody check all the electrical, heating, and air conditioning, your foundation, plumbing, and other things. You don't want to go into buying a house if there are so many things that are going to have to be fixed. So if the home inspector finds any major problems that weren't disclosed before you sign the sales contract, you can use the inspection contingency to walk away from the deal or to renegotiate the price. So the requirements at closing are: you will be given an estimate of the closing costs and fees up front. Before you can close on a house, you will need to do the following: a title search, title insurance, a survey, homeowner's insurance, closing costs. And before you sign that contract, see if the seller will agree to pay for more of the closing costs. So like if they didn't disclose something going on with the electrical or heating, maybe they could agree to make that repair for you or reduce the cost of your contract to see if, or the closing costs, so you can make that, or give you extra money so you can make that electrical change on your own. So there's lots of things to consider when you're closing on a home. And of course, you know, more money that you're going to have to spend. So just budget, budget, budget. Okay, so life event number 4 is family life. So whether you're getting married or having a child, it's important to prepare for the financial impact these experiences are going to have on your life. Adding to your family is likely to be one of the bigger financial events you will face. So be ready for the change so you're not impacted by what's going to be coming in the future. Budgeting for changes in family life will make the transition easier and create financial security in the long run. So at every stage of your life, you're going to encounter various challenges and rewards. So as far as financial planning, it's important to understand your partner's financial situation before you marry, or at least move in together. Because once you're married, you'll not only be sharing your home and life together, but also each other's financial history. So think about joint accounts, and then who are going to pay the expenses. Like, are you going to take care of the utility bills, and your significant other is going to take care of other things like car payments and insurance and things like that. So, you know, work that out among each other. And then once you are married, you're gonna have to think about the way you're gonna file your taxes. So you could still file jointly, which means that you're combining your income and your deductions together into one tax return, or you could do filing separately, and each of you would do your own taxes, which, you know, for some people that might be an easier thing, but you get more credits if you're married and you're filing jointly together. And then bank accounts, when it comes to whether you want to make joint or individual bank accounts, every family is different. And that's, you know, due to the conversation about who's going to pay what bills and things like that. So you can maintain separate bank accounts and each pay a portion of your bills. Deposit a set amount into a shared account, which for each month, and pay your bills using the account while maintaining separate accounts for your own expenditures, or pull your money together into one account. Also keep track of credit cards. You should each keep at least one credit card in your name to maintain a separate credit history of your own. If you get divorced or your partner dies, it will be much easier to get a mortgage, loan, or credit card with some individual credit activity. So then you have to consider also the debt that you bring on when you combine your incomes, or just, you know, starting a relationship. So if you or your spouse has high considerable debt, work to pay it off so you can focus on other financial goals. And the first step is to get an accurate picture of how much you owe. Next, review your budget and construct a plan to pay off your debt as quickly as possible. The more you can pay per month, the less you will pay in interest overall. So this is a really important thing to consider when you're starting a relationship with someone, because one of the biggest obstacles about when people get married or live together is that they fight over money. So consider all these things and just try to work it out so you don't have those situations where you're arguing all the time about who's going to pay. Sorry, guys, I keep forgetting to advance. Okay, so parenting is another big one with a lot of costs. So, you know, when you start having children, your budget's going to be in for a big shock because the cost of diapers, food, clothing, childcare, strollers, and more. That's something that you're going to have to take into consideration big time, and set aside as much as possible every month in a savings account. And remember that when baby arrives, you're likely to have to change your health insurance coverage to protect them as well. An actual event of birth can be expensive, as can all the first-time purchases you don't need to make. So again, one income versus two. So one of the hardest decisions for new parents is whether to have one parent stay at home full time. So you'll have to determine if the other person's salary is going to be enough to cover all the expenses that are going to happen from there on out. So you have to ask yourself, are both jobs paying off? A job is more than just income. It includes expenses. So there's gas and other things related to transportation. You'll need to pay for childcare while you're at the job as well, and which can cost thousands of dollars a year. All these work-related expenses to figure out how much money you would really lose by staying home. It may not be as easy or not be as big a loss as you thought, but then again, it could as well. And then look into maternity and paternity leave. So in a lot of companies are now giving fathers leave time as well as the mothers. So check into those things and see if it's going to be beneficial to you as well. So now one of the biggies is childcare. So you're going to have to figure out, if you're not, one parent's not staying at home, you're going to have to decide on the type of childcare. So there are daycare centers, and they're moderately priced, but on average can cost $400 to $1,000 a month, which still can be expensive. Check for different places like churches, schools, or community centers that maybe offer lower price daycare. But the center should always be staffed and trained by licensed daycare professionals. So there's also the family daycare. And that's different from traditional daycare in that the caregiver provides care in his or own home. So since the service is provided in a residence, excuse me. So let's see. So it's in a residence. So it's often more convenient than centers, and the service can be less expensive. Typically, it costs anywhere from $300 to $400 a month. And it's less structured. Caregivers, there might be like more playtime, feeding, napping, and other things that could come up that are a good fit for your own ideas and values. Also, they should be licensed as well. And then there is having a nanny. So this is probably the most expensive option, excuse me, costing $1,500 a month and up. So there could be live-in and daytime nanny childcare, which has advantages. The person is always there, and it's a one-on-one attention. the familiarity and convenience of your own home, and a consistent companion for your child. So if you negotiate it into your agreement, light housekeeping chores may also be included in the deal. Keep in mind that you will be an employer, so you are legally required to withhold money for taxes and to pay Social Security, unemployment insurance, and the other costs according to your specific state and local laws. So now we're going into life event number 5, and it's estate planning. And I know a lot of people don't like to talk about planning for this time of your life, but it's a good thing to have it set up and ready to go, just in case. You never know what's going to happen in life. So if you prepare now for end of your life or an illness, you may, it's not a very fun thing, but it's necessary. So there are different companies or things that you could do online to get like the wills and trusts and powers of attorney forms filled out. So you can Google and see what Colorado, the type of forms that you'll need for Colorado. But a will is the first step in estate planning and should be at the top of your to-do list. So this is provisions of your will determine who is going to inherit your property, who is chosen to become guardian of your children, and who will manage your financial affairs in the event of your death. So then there's also a trust, which allows you to have more control over the money you leave to someone than your will does. So for example, if you leave money to a young child, it can be put into a trust and used only for education or dispersed once a child reaches a certain age. A trust also protects the money from creditors, since it cannot be taken from the beneficiary to pay debts. And then one of the other really important things is powers of attorney. So if something would happen medically and you're not able to make decisions on your own, the power of attorney will name someone who will need to make these decisions for you. So deciding who this person will be in advance is called giving someone power of attorney. And a durable power of attorney gives a person or people authority to manage your finances and other legal affairs for you if you are not capable of managing them yourself. Also, a healthcare directive is a power of attorney that allows the person you designate to make healthcare decisions for you if you're unable to make those decisions yourself. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going into life event number 6, which is retirement. Excuse me. So it's never too soon to start saving for your retirement. You may be in your 20s and you think, oh, I have 60 years before I'm going to retire, or at least 50 years. And that's way, way out into the future. But if you start planning for it now, then you'll have a lot more money saved up. So maybe you could retire early instead of working till you're 65 or 70. So, and you could be a little more aggressive over time, which how you want to save your money and like put it in different funds and things to take a little bit more risk than you would if you're cramming at the end before you're ready to retire. So ways to plan for retirement. One of the big ones is the 401k plan. And employees can choose to defer some of their salary. Instead of receiving that amount in their paycheck, the employee can defer or delay getting the money. In this case, the deferred money is going into a 401k plan sponsored by their employer. So this deferred money generally is not taxed until it's distributed. distributed. So if you establish a 401k plan, you can have other retirement plans as well. You can be a business of any size, need to annually file a Form 5500. And then you can make a 401k plan as simple or as complex as you want to. So it offers a pre-approved by the IRS and might just be the thing to cut down on administrative headaches and expenses. So the pros and cons of a 401k is its greater flexibility in contributions. Employees may contribute more to this plan than under IRA plans. It's a good plan if cash flow is an issue. Optional participant loans and hardship withdrawals add flexibility for employees. Administrative costs may be higher than under more basic arrangements. And the need to test the benefits do not discriminate in favor of a highly compensated employees. This testing can be complicated. And then additional withdrawals or loan flexibility adds administrative burden for the employer. So who actually contributes? So the employee salary deferrals and or employer contributions. Employees are always 100% vested in their salary deferrals. Employer contributions may be vested on a graduated vesting schedule. So when you get into your job, ask them what type of retirement plans they have and which would be better for you. And it's always important to ask how much they're going to contribute to your plan. So there's also IRAs, like we talked about a little bit ago. It's the individual retirement account. So there's a traditional IRA that's tax deferred retirement savings account, which means you'll pay income tax later on the money you withdraw in retirement. You'd pay at 10% on money withdrawn before age 59 and a half. And then after you turn 70 and a half, you can't continue contributing, whether you're retired or not, and you'll have to begin making withdrawals, known as required minimum distributions from the IRA account. And then there's also the Roth IRA, and it's a retirement savings account of after-tax dollars, which means you've already paid taxes on the money you put in. You can withdraw your contributions at any time for any reason, tax-free, and can continue contributing to your Roth IRA regardless of your age. You pay no taxes when you withdraw after retirement. So you might want to get like a financial specialist to help you decide which type of IRA would be better for you. So just a note, not everyone is eligible for opening a Roth IRA, and traditional Roth IRAs both have set annual contribution limits. So then other ways to plan for retirement is Social Security. So we always have Social Security taken out of our paychecks, but if you're working for like a public company or retail or something like that, then your retirement is just invested in your Social Security. So it depends on how many quarters you put in, yearly quarters, the 4 quarters of the year. And over time, that'll decide how much you are going to get in your retirement benefits for Social Security. So they're going to review your income from your 35 highest earnings to calculate how much your Social Security benefit will be. If you're working less than 35 years, then those years will count as 0. Continuing to work to replace years of lower or 0 earnings can improve your benefits. So normally you can start receiving Social Security benefits when you turn 62. But now they're saying that the full retirement age is more like 67 years for everyone born in 1960 or after. So For every year after full retirement age that you delay collecting payments, your benefit amount goes up 8% until you turn 70. And that's the longest that you can delay taking out your payment. So consider consulting with a qualified financial planner to determine what is the best age for you to start collecting these benefits. Now, if you also are working for maybe a state job and they have a retirement plan, you can get your retirement plan with these organizations as well as Social Security, but they're going to balance out every year. So if you get an annual raise in Social Security, that's going to affect, it's going to lower your other retirement plan from the organization where you looked. So it kind of, there's checks and balances with that. So you have to look into all these things before you decide when you're going to retire. And then there are other things to consider, like Medicare. So once you turn 65, you're eligible for Medicare. And it's funded by 1.5% tax on your earnings, along with another 1.45% paid by your employers. So you'll have Medicare deductions on your paycheck that might say FICA-HI or Federal Insurance Contributions Act or health insurance. So most people pay for the Medicare plan that's like Part A, and that's based on hospital plan. Or you could also pay for an additional Part B for outpatient, and that is like prevent illness or detect an early stage and serves or supplies that you need to diagnose your treatment or medical condition. So this, you must pay a monthly premium. And then there's a Part C Medicare Advantage. So, but with this one, you must already be enrolled in Part A and B and be eligible for Part C. Then they have a Part D that's just for prescription drug coverage. So then there's the Medigap insurance. It covers a lot, but it doesn't cover everything. So this could be used to fill in the gaps for your Medicare coverage. And you could also purchase it from a private insurance company. So if you already have Medicare Advantage Part C, it's illegal for anyone to sell you Medigap insurance unless you are switching back to original Medicare A and B coverage only. So many things to consider with this, but you know, Medicare is a good thing. They pay for the majority of anything that comes up during retirement or, you know, once you're eligible to receive Medicare. Okay. So our last life event, number 7, is planning for the unexpected. So throughout life, there are going to be unexpected events that can take a lasting toll on your financial security. While you can't predict what experiences you will encounter in life, there are steps to help you take to prepare for the unexpected. So these things could be like a job loss or an expensive car payment will be much more manageable if you created a financial security net to fall back on. And there are 3 key areas to consider when planning for the unexpected. Save emergency funds, insurance, and consider your overall budget. So handling the unexpected, you should create an emergency fund. So this consists of enough to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So of course, if you don't have the flexibility to do so, save more than 6 months worth. That way you can cover more payments if the unexpected occurs. And if you don't have enough extra cash to create this fund in full, save what you can each month and include your emergency fund in your budget. Then there's always insurance. So remember that you aren't necessarily alone when it comes to covering unexpected expenses. With reliable insurance, many of the medical, auto, and home-related payments may be covered in part or completely. So disability and life insurance are also worth considering. While having insurance won't eliminate all unexpected expenses, it can make a significant difference in if you find yourself in a difficult financial situation. So think ahead and learn more about health, life, auto, and homeowners insurance to protect your finances. And lastly is the budget. So as we said a minute ago, include your emergency savings in your budget. And that's the most important for preparing for the unexpected. So also maintain an overall understanding of your budget is not only a good habit to keep, but also helpful in case of an emergency. So being aware of your budget as a whole will help you recognize the difference between needs and wants, prioritize payments, and if necessary, adjust to cover unexpected costs. So there we are. I covered 7 of the life events that more likely will come up for you. Are there any questions that you have?
I was wondering, do I get a ticket number for every hour I attend?
Yeah, so I'll give it to you after this one's done.
Oh, I don't think I got one for yesterday from 1 to 2.
I'll double check, but I thought I sent it in one email. So
Oh,
you should have had 2 numbers for yesterday.
I only got 1. I didn't get another email.
Okay, well, I'll check it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anybody else have questions on the presentation before we go? That was a long one. Lots of information though. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if any questions come up, you know where to find me. And maybe I'll see you at the next one. If not, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.